Mr. Popularity, I must say.
Been reading Facebook messages, have you?
Yeah, it's so nice.
Yeah, are they? Yeah. Very humbling.
Well, you know what? You've got a lot to be humbled about, I must say.
Oh, thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. So, Mr. Craigie, welcome to our, well, it's normally our 3 o'clock session, but I actually had a prior engagement today. So, welcome to our 4 o'clock session.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. It's so good to see you. How's things going?
I'm going all right, yeah. Not too bad at all.
So what are you doing? You're just working from home at the moment?
Yeah, working for George Weston, but yeah, everything's all done from home because I'm in the middle of a heavy COVID area, so I can't go.
Oh, you are too?
Well, in the Blacktown Council, yeah. So, yeah, very restrictive on what we can and can't do.
It's a pretty challenging time, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I've had the double jab, but I've still got a QR code. I've still got to wear a mask everywhere I go. But, yeah, I mean, if people just did what they've asked of them, we should get through it a lot quicker.
Can you believe we had 633 cases today?
Unbelievable.
Freaking believable.
But I don't want to get into politics, but I think they've sort of done it a little bit wrong. They've chased the virus rather than getting in front of it and pushing back at it. You know, I've put an analogy out on Facebook saying we should have spoke to the bushfire brigades. You know, they don't ever follow a fire. They always get in front of it, put a fire break and fight back at it to try and contain it rather than letting it run.
See, this is why I love your way of thinking. So I have been doing these sessions with people generally who are either chefs or they're no one really that's been in that sales role except for Sean Cunnington yesterday. Yeah, it was good. Which was a great session. But in the food space from a sales perspective, because I just thought it was well overdue. And, you know, I also didn't think there was really anyone I'd rather kick it off with than you, to be honest.
Thank you very much.
You're so welcome. So tell me, you were actually in the Defence Force.
I started off in the Defence Force, yes. As a weapons technician.
A what?
A weapons technician. I was one of those.
So you actually know about guns and stuff?
Yes, yeah, that was my trade in there. I actually came out with a electrical fitter mechanics trade, so I'm a licensed. I was a licensed electrician.
Wow.
Worked on construction sites back in the 80s where the nasty unions were running the show. I was involved in all that. So worked on some large buildings in the city.
So how long, was it the Navy or the Army?
I was in the Navy.
Yeah.
For 5 years.
And what made you leave the Navy?
The main reason was sort of forced into playing rugby. I enjoyed it when I was in it, but then it started to affect the what I went in there for, which was to blow things up. It's one of those things is you don't tell the Navy or Defence Force no, so they made my life a little bit hard. So I decided that was it, get out. And also I'd met my lovely girlfriend and wife now back then, and I didn't want her to be a Navy wife because we were going to get married. So made the big call to get out.
It is a pretty hard lifestyle, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
But sales
single is brilliant.
As well.
What was that, sorry?
But sales can be pretty tough as well.
Yes. Yeah.
But anyway, so you're in the Navy, and so you were a good rugby player?
Yes.
How good?
Very good. I represented them for 3 years in a row. Played against the emerging All Blacks. Played against combined Fiji services side. Played against Hong Kong. So wasn't bad. And when I came out, I actually got a contract to play rugby league up in your old neck of the woods, up at Gosford.
Oh, really?
Signed with them played with them for a short period, then got a contract to sign, play with Umina. But some of the people who are watching might remember that Mark Guy was up there. He played for Umina. I retired the year he joined.
It's actually incredible to me how parallel our lives have run, because it was at the time when Mark Geyer was actually playing at Umina that my parents had the Ocean Beach Hotel. So they ran the hotel for Arthur Laundy, and they were actually one of the sponsors for the Umina Rugby League Football Club.
They were very good sponsors. They actually sent us over to Bali the year before. All expenses paid. So thank you very much for that.
So that was like a trip where you go on what happens in Bali stays in Bali?
Oh, 100%. Yes. 100%. All I can say is there's a massive big Coca-Cola sign there, or we used to be up there on Kuta, and it wanted me right or wrong. It was going to attack me. Every time I looked at it, it was attacking me. So food or the drink that I drank.
Must have been. So you were at, so you played rugby league, and why did you end up giving away your rugby career?
Rugby, well, I actually got a few medical conditions, got shin splints late in the season, and it just got a little bit too hard. And at that stage, I was working up at Mount Penang, the boys' home up there. I was working up there as they classify us as youth workers, but virtually a warden. And that was shift.
Really?
Yeah, so that was shift work. I absolutely loved it up there.
Wow. That would have been back in the early days when Mount Penang probably had just been started, like when it had just been built.
No. This is the old Mount Penang. This is the old, before they built the new one.
Wow. Because you've had an interesting life.
There was a lot of rough and tumble going on up there, but I absolutely enjoyed it. It was chatting with the kids, finding out their history and their story. A couple of ones I actually got Peter Sterling and a few the guys from the Parramatta Leagues Club to actually sign a football for one of the kids.
Oh, wow.
It was in there because he's come from Moree, and it was like one of those things is they're bored. So what do? Grab a car, take it for a joyride, and go to court, and sent down there for 6 months. And he was just a brilliant kid. So I went out of my way to get that for him. Another one was an old North Sydney supporter. So I got a couple of the guys, Martin Bella and a few of the boys, Cliff Lyons, to sign a football for him as well. So it was just, I just thought if I could part something onto them and make their life a little bit enriched, it'd be great.
Well, I know that this interview is like, this session's all about you, but I'm actually going to share a little funny story. So when I was chefing, I was working at Yasma, which is in Haberfield. And it was the under 18s girls home. And it's where they were sent, obviously before they turned 18 and if they had to go to jail. But anyway, I was chefing there, and I had that same sort of mentality where I thought, I just will show them a little bit of mentorship, show them a bit of kindness, a bit of love. But my way was through food. So they started to put on so much weight that the dietitians had to intervene, and I had to stop doing the cooked breakfast and doing the morning teas. And anyway, it was a very funny time. And, they used to come asking for tracing paper every 5 seconds. So I'm just handing out baking paper like it's going out of fashion. And little did I know what they were using it for. But anyway, now.
I was actually had them out in the fields playing. I was teaching them things to do in the rugby field and a bit of exercise, and trying to get it into their brain that way, through their physicality.
Which would have probably been the smart way to do it, but I wasn't allowed to actually come out of the kitchen. And I mean, considering I was counting knives and forks that were coming back, I kind of wouldn't probably go beyond the shutters, to be honest. So Terry Stubbs just said weapons training would be the best prep for meat sales. Bit funny, huh?
Something like that. But actually, the last 3 months of my tour in there was actually in a kitchen.
Oh, okay.
They thought I was doing the wrong thing. So part of my punishment was I had to do a 5 kilometre run in the morning, then come back and then go and clean up in the galley and stuff like that. But while I was in there, it was brilliant. I mean, the chefs in there were unbelievable. They're the ones that actually sort of sparked a little bit of food knowledge into me, and they'll show me how to cook things and how to prepare things and things like that. And and they were giving me meals because part of the reason, when you sign a contract in the Navy, you just can't get out. So a couple of ways of doing it. One is being bad, and I didn't want to lose all my superannuation. And the other one is medical. And I was really fit. And someone mentioned to me that you can get out being overweight. So that was my goal. Overweight. I've been fighting that one ever since. But so the guys in there were giving me food. The run in the morning, I had to run from HMS Watson's Point, all the way up to the lighthouse and back again every morning. Did that with a PDI, a physical instructor. First week, second week, he said, you know where you're going? So I went, yep. So I ran straight out of the door, down to the newsagents, got the paper, a large chocolate move and 2 Mars bars. Sat on there, watched the sunrise, looked at me watch, went, oh, it's about time to go back now. So I put my thing in the bin and off I went. And I couldn't understand why I was putting on weight.
That is so bad.
Into the food side of it.
So, look, I was probably not going to go down that track just quite yet, but seeing as you brought it up, let's have a chat about it. And I don't know how personal you feel comfortable going with the weight piece, but you've had a pretty solid journey when it comes to, you're actually fairly big inspiration, I have to say, when it comes to that weight loss, and the struggle must have been real coming from a really active, fit person to putting on weight and having to learn to live a different life.
Yeah, it has. I mean, I was at my worst, I was up to 196 kilos. Which is a young heifer, you know. So the market, and I'd probably
they're about 180
back
kilos.
Then. But I went through all the fad diets and things like that, and I sort of turned the corner, and I had a gastric sleeve put in, and lost 55 kilos in the first 12 months. So which is very, very good.
I'm so proud of you. I am so proud of you.
And it's just basically the doctor drilled into me don't call it a diet, because diets have a beginning and an end. Just change the way you eat. Have an eating plan and stick to that for the rest of your life, rather than, you know.
And how hard's that been? And like, really seriously, like, how hard has that been?
Well, as you know, in sales, it can be very tough. You go and see people, and you go into functions, and you're going to things like that. It can be very, very hard. You slip off the wagon, you know, at the drop of a hat, but it's just got to get reality back, you know. You've got to kick it back in. You've got to have your set goals, and my goals was I want to see grandkids, and I'm sticking to that, you know.
Yeah. And what motivated you to do it in the first place, like to get the gastric bypass?
I was actually looking at my kids one day and looking at a photo that they'd taken with us together, and I looked horrible, absolutely disgusting. And that was just me. I just thought, you know what? I don't want to do that. And I remember my mother passed away without seeing my second child and my brother's kids. So I thought, no, I don't want to be down there. I don't want to have that thing. So I thought, I'm going to do it for them. I've eaten everything in the world. There's not much I haven't eaten. I've drank virtually everything. So I've done all that. Well, but the only thing is I said to people, I haven't seen grandkids. So I want to be around long enough to do that. So
I thought it might have, I thought Rob Barazio may have had a little bit to do with that shifting of your mindset as well, might have inspired you to.
Well, we'd spoken, I mean, I'd spoken to him plenty of times, but the unfortunate thing that happened with him, he had lost the weight, and it wasn't that. It was actually through his injury that caused. But he lost the weight just by working his tail off.
Yeah.
And he had probably a better work ethic than what I do. He was just, you know, he was in there at 4 o'clock in the morning and leaving there at, 6 o'clock at night. And just not eating, just working, you know.
Well, like I said, I'm just so proud of you, the way that you've I mean, that's massive, Craig. 55 kilos is the size of some people.
Yeah.
And how's it changed your life? Like in terms of how's it changed your way of thinking and the way that you approach life?
Oh, well, I've always been a happy, you know.
Yeah.
Look at the bright side of everything. It hasn't affected that. I still do. It's just, I don't know. I'm just less tired, more active. I think the brain is still working as hard as it was when I first started getting into the game. So hitting 55 years of age, and I'm still running around like an idiot. Still think I'm 10 foot tall, and bulletproof, and when you're rough and tumble with the dogs on the floor, you go, oh, that's it. That hurts. But it's just basically quality of life. It's made my life a lot better. I can walk a lot better. I don't have to wait 3 or 4 minutes to wait for an elevator to come. I go up the stairs. So it's
You kind of got some of your youth back again as well.
Pardon, what was that?
You kind of got some of that youth back as well.
Yes, yeah.
Good on you. I love that. I just think that is just such an inspiring story, and just to see how far you've come and how much weight you've lost and how much and as you said, you've always been a very positive, happy person.
Yeah, I think you've got to be. Treat people the way you want to be treated yourself, and
which leads us into our sorry.
What's that?
I was just going to say that kind of leads us into into the sales piece of your life. And so what made you get into sales? How did it all start? I think I've got you again.
There you go. To say, I did a stint. It was a bar manager at the Rimba OSL, where your father was the GM up there, and then I worked at the Tall Timbers Hotel as the bar manager. Ended up managing that, and went over to the Valley Tavern, another pub up that way. And I was getting to the stage where laws were changing. I was held responsible for people who were within a 3 kilometre radius. I'd been taken to court twice over silly things. I had a gentleman die in a car park, and I brought him back to life because his brother-in-law belted him. And, long story short, the guy eventually passed away again. That was another court case. I had to go to that. I just thought my life I just don't need this. I'm just a little bit too over this. I just had my son. My wife was she was working, but she was also most of the time looking after Paul. I just thought I got to do something different. And then I kept dealing with the liquor reps, kept coming in, chatting away, and we talking to them for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And I thought, I could do that. I could do a stand on my head. Love talking to people. No drama. I know about alcohol. So I went and applied for a position and got a position in a company called Uni Liquor, which just happened to be owned by the Waterhouses. So started repping down in Sydney, going to pubs and clubs and liquor outlets and things like that, selling whiskey and gin and vodkas and kosher vodka too. So it was all good stuff.
Wow.
And then it just got into that. And the story was with me in the meat game was prior to the Olympics back in '98. I knew Trevor Wilson through a mutual friend, and the mutual friend rang me one day and said, "Oh, Trevor's looking for a rep, and mate, you can sell ice to the Eskimos, you can do anything, you'd be perfect for him. You know, Trevor?" I said, "Yeah, okay." So rang him on the phone, organised the meeting. I went and dressed up to the nines and went into their factory at Pittwater Road, Gladesville, and it was a dingy looked like an old house with the roof, all the rooms and that underneath. Oh, what am I doing here? Went in, sat down, had a quick chat with Trevor about personal things. Then he said, "Okay, righto, what do you know about meat?" And I said, "I like it." And he said, "Job's yours." He handed me cards. He handed me Dwayne Leadbeater's card and Martin Carr's card. At that stage, he was working for the MLA. And Dwayne was the Ausmeat, as we know, God rest his soul.
Yeah, God rest his soul.
And said, "Here, ring these people. Start on Monday. When you come in, you ring these people here." He gave me an old book of the USDA manual, which was so out of date you would not believe. Said, "Here, that'll help you along." So yeah, I just got involved. I got into Dwayne's ear, and he helped me no end as to sort of know what questions to ask. Had plenty of meetings with Martin Carr. Again, there I went over to the Australian Pork Corp when I used to be up at Crow's Nest. I lobbed them their door going, "G'day, how you going? I'm young and fresh and into the industry, and I want to know everything." So, they helped me along with literature and things like that. And then it was basically going out with one of the bosses, Angelo Bobudis, just tagging along, keeping the ears wide open, listening to the way he spoke to chefs, and then getting to know chefs. And then you being a chef yourself, Nez, it's just drawing the inspiration from you, finding out what you're doing with the product, getting that under the hat. And then later on through there, I invited guys like Martin Webster Williams, Rob Braccio come over then, and we started doing afternoon sessions on what can we do with byproducts. We'll make a little lamb lollipops out of the lamb skin. We're trimming them off the ribs, and just things like that. How can we utilize that? Summer shanks, lamb shanks, we're putting with a tomato and onion marinade, cryovacuuming them, and then next week we were pulling them open and cooking them off, and they were just, so we called them summer shanks because they were bright red rather than the winter shank. It was just basically just absorbing as much information as I can from anybody. And then, sorry about that. And then, next thing, the Olympics turned up, and that was a massive eye opener. Because we were looking after Urest and Spotless and Delaware North and all the big ones who had all the major contracts. So it was a learning curve there. I was spending time downstairs in the room. My claim to fame is 175,000 minute steaks I cut.
Wow. How long did that take?
Anybody was on a small good slicer, which is illegal, but that doesn't matter. I know no one's listening, so it's okay. That's safe.
So how long did it take you to do what? 175,000 minutes?
Oh yeah, we did them over about a 3 or 4 month period. We froze them.
Okay. And
then we defrosted them as we were taking them out down to Homebush.
Yeah.
And then that part of that, I was the load master for them. So I had to secure every van. So I was virtually working 18-hour days for the full time the Olympics were on, even weekends. It was exciting times and absolutely loving it. So, and then from there, went over to Andrews because Andrews actually bought the company.
I was going to say Andrews bought Wilson's, right?
Yeah, they did. Yep, that was that. And I've got to say, Peter Andrews got a lot of time for the man. Very, very knowledgeable. He's not the oldest of man, but I'll tell you what, he had a very, very good brain acumen. He listened. He understood what was going on. He came out with us when he was discussing with chefs. He was open to new ideas. As long as he can put money in his tilt, he's happy. And he taught me a hell of a lot. I'm happy to say that. I'm not one of those people that can go and go, I know everything. It was not. I went in there with me again, ears wide open, listening, learning, and seeing how we could do it. And opened up the whole market in Canberra for him. We picked up all the defence sites down there, as well as a lot of the clubs down there. We opened up for him, so that was good. And then from there, you and I, happy days.
Well, we actually started out in the beginning, and this is one of the memories that I always have when I started at Top Cut. And I used to obviously go out and do my prospecting and hunting for the new customer. And the one thing that I learned really quickly was that if I walked into somewhere and I said, and it came up who their current supplier was, if it was Andrews and it was Craig Madeley, or it was Mastercard and it was Melissa Parker, it'd be like, okay, thank you so much. Let's just stay in touch. I can't really, you just knew that you just never had a chance against you guys. Like your relationships and the respect that your customers had was just too great. So you kind of put these almost like unspoken boundaries in place, and that's just the way it was. And then when you came and joined us anyway, it was like, well, there are no boundaries now. You introduced me to them all, and it's my happy days.
Yeah, because I think you and I first met when you were at MGSM.
Yeah, we did actually. That's right.
Yeah.
That's a long time ago. Macquarie Graduate School of
Yeah.
Management. Yeah.
I was your rep for a little time until you got rid of me and put top in there.
I
That was
know
a
there
win
was
for
this
you.
really annoying Englishman that used to come into my kitchen and he used to stir my pots. And then, you know, this little Italian guy by the name of Tony Mandolini used to come in. And anyway, yes,
Yeah.
I did. I'm sorry about that.
No,
But
not at all. It was good. But even back then, we built up a good relationship, you know. So
we did. We absolutely did. And anyway,
yeah.
then you did come over to Top Cut. And I think by that stage, you know, Lise was looking at other avenues. I think Simplot had taken over Top Cut by that stage.
No. When I first get it was still the boys, still Tony and Rocky and those guys that were still there. They were brilliant. I've got to take my hat off to them. They were really, really good. You know, I went down to Melbourne, had a meeting with them all down there, and they gave me, I said, 12 months, just give me 12 months. Don't talk to me about margins. Just give me 12 months to get the name back up to where it should be and get some product and runs on the board. And they were true to their word, gave me the 12 months without hassling me out. And you and I, started kicking some major goals again. We've got some good runs on the board. We tripled turnover in the first 18 months. So we were doing really, really well. Yeah.
It was definitely it was a good time, and it was a good time to do business because I felt like it was a time when we hadn't complicated the process of selling.
Mm.
You know, one of my favorite things to say is that look, at the end of the day, I'm a female, you know, like I'm going into a man's world. I'm going up against reps like Melody and Melissa, who are just like drop dead gorgeous. And then you throw Lisa Kendall Mandolini into the picture and it's just like, you know, like seriously. So it's kind of like, you know, I'd go into somewhere, it's like, all I can offer you is a good beat at a good price. I don't wear short shirts.
It's the trifecta. You've got it, you know, you've got a product, price, and service. They're the big three.
And that's what we sold on.
And that's what I should say to you. You'll never ever get all three. You're very, very rarely if you can be the best at all three with one company. So pick two and be the best at those two you can be. And I've always said service and product, they've got to be number one on there. Price will always sort of bounce around, but you know, because most of us are buying product at a similar sort of price. So you can play with that, but make sure your service, make sure your phone's on, as you and I both know, it's 7 days a week. Make sure the product, make sure the guys are cutting it right, make sure that the chef is happy with what he's seeing when he opens that pack. You know? And
that was probably a really big struggle. And I don't know if Terry's still online, but she'd even vouch for this as well. I mean, you know, like we were in the cutting room at, you know, 5 o'clock in the morning, standing beside these butchers and the cutters, and we were standing over and managing the product that was going out to our customers. You know, it was a time when I feel like that's what was needed.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you are. I mean, I'm not going to denigrate butchers, but butchers, it's a boring job. And if you're doing the same thing day in, day out, you know, an old chisel song, 4 corners, you know, 4 walls, wash basin, cutting bench, you know, that's virtually what they got. It can be a bit boring and they can just sort of, you know, come off the boil a bit. So you sometimes have to be there and say, look, come on, boys, we understand, you know. But you think of
100%. And it was difficult. It was difficult, wasn't it? Because the butchers, they're not in front of the customer and they're not talking specifications and they're not talking about and they don't understand food service. Like that was pretty much, that was us. We were the conduit between the two. And we're talking about a really, you know, meat at the end of the day carries your largest food cost, right? Like it's an investment. And we owed it to our customers to provide that.
I mean, it's just also poultry. I worked in the poultry game for a while. I know it's exactly the same thing. You know, the people in there, oh, don't worry, but just send it out, or just you know, toss it in a bit of chlorine and water with ice, and she'll be sweet. You know, it'll give you another 2 or 3 days. Yeah, cost-wise, it might be right, but when it gets to the other end, the chef who's cooking is going, this is wrong. Why is my pan full of water? Why is it when I'm cutting it, it's not it's not cooking through the proper colour. Why is this? What's going on? And it's not the butcher or the packer or the cutter that's getting the phone calls. It's the sales rep going, why? What are you doing to me? Why is this happening? So it's a part of our job is a QA part as well as not just sales. We're also
we had to wear a lot of different hats, but I mean, look, you do that really well, and and as you say, like, you've got customers that you would work with, years and years and years ago that you still would have today. I mean, it doesn't matter where you go, they follow you because they really believe in you as their just as somebody who looks after their business.
Yeah, it comes down to a trust thing. They trust you and you trust them. And that was the thing. You just say to them, just be honest. Because you do get the chefs and all that, they'll try and sneak it in and, it's your fault, we didn't get our delivery, this sort of stuff. But I portray to these guys, just tell me the truth. Be upfront. I will always help you where I can. And then if they are truthful and it is upfront and you do the right thing, they go, oh, hang on, this bloke's all right. He's doing the right thing. Okay, so I'll stick with him. And that's virtually what it is. And then, you do then create a better relationship with them, not just as a client, but as a person as well.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of changing companies, how hard has that been for you? I mean, you've worked for Wilson's, who obviously sold out to Andrews, and then you came across a Top Cut. But that must have been a really big challenge when you've been out there singing the praises and championing a company to then move to another one. I mean, how did you manage that?
Well, that was probably the biggest challenge and the biggest one, because at that stage, Top Cut didn't have the best reputation out there. And I was a bit of a smarty when I was at Andrews. I used to call you guys my best sales reps.
Not me.
No, not you. No, it was prior to you. Because Mr. Rob Ashton and those guys would go out there and do all the homework and get all the specs down and do all the paperwork and get everything all done. And then I'd go in there and I'd say, they're going, oh, we just signed over with a Top Cut. I say, okay, I'll see you in 2 weeks. And 2 weeks later, fair enough, they're on the phone, the product's dropped or the price has gone up or something's gone wrong, but everything's all done for you. And all they do is hand you a bit of paper, you go, bang, I mean, there's a price, see you later. And job's yours. But because I was a bit of a smarty, and then all of a sudden I'm now
I think you froze again.
Hey?
I think you just froze again.
I think you just did. Yeah, you're all. I was moving.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean that part was a little bit hard, but over the years, again, it just comes down to your relationship with people that you've met, and like some of them didn't want to come over; they were quite happy with Andrews. Some of the blokes said, "Mate, you made a bulletproof when you were there. Why would I change?" That's fine. Stick with it. But eventually you just keep in contact with them. It's the old saying, be persistent, not a pest. You just continue to keep seeing it, and then eventually there might be a chink in the armour somewhere, or they want to buy 1 or 2 items off you, and then you just get back in. The relationship then starts up again.
Yeah.
When I left Top Cut, I went over to a couple of other companies. One of them I won't mention. It was 12 months of my life I'll never get back. So that was really, really tough. But then I went into the chicken to poultry game, which was great. It was a good eye-opener for me there. I did a stint with some transport and vegetables. And then I went to work for Primo in their NFD side of it. They wanted to get fresh meat into their small goods and distribution side of it. So I went on a contract with them, which was great. Yeah, so, I mean, moved around a little bit. And then last in the meat game was Dick Stone's, which was good. A good family-run company, which was Gary Stone's a really, really excellent man. And the company was run very open, which was good. And the product was great. Because they're owned by a meat wholesaler, it was actually quite good and good to get cheap product over. And again, getting out there, people knew who I was. Because you've been around a little bit, they sort of forget that you went from Andrews to Top Cut,
Yeah.
That sort of thing was fine. And then now I'm working for George Western Food under Don KR Castlemaine.
And I know that you're going to answer yes, you are, because you have because that Yeah, obviously you're not going to answer it any differently, but what are you enjoying about Don KR?
Well, besides the fact that it's different, it's a key account manager role. So I'm not actually dealing with end users. So I'm not getting chefs ringing me on a Sunday night going, how much is a chicken wing weigh? Or you turn up and there's a message on your phone. If I order, 220 gram rumps, how many do I get to a kilo? Things like that. I'm not missing that. It's dealing with distributors, wholesalers, the larger end, which is very good. COVID sort of put a bit of a kick in the guts to it because I do enjoy going face-to-face meetings with these people. I'm just, again, talking to new people, different environments, finding out what their needs are. And Don KR, they're a really, really good company. Really good. I'm not just saying because I work for them, but they are very open, very honest. They listen to you again. So if you have some ideas and suggestions, you put it forward to them. They go, yep, fine, just do it. Just go with it. Rather than, no, this is the way we've always done it.
I was actually looking at their website earlier, and what I love about it is that I love the way they champion chefs to through their recipe inspiration. I think that that's a really nice initiative, especially given that because Don KR, they don't distribute directly to the end user, right? They go through distribution networks.
Yeah.
And that's tough. That's a tough gig. I mean,
well, you've got the other guys who are doing it. They're dealing direct with end users as well as going to distributors. And to me, that's a bit slap in the face because if you're selling to a distributor and he's going out into a restaurant, the restaurant then rings up, say, Primo and says, look, these guys are selling it to me for $8, and they go, okay, I'll do it $7. The poor old distributor's gone. See you later.
Yeah. So when you're looking, when you're now working in that small goods space, do customers care about the origin of the material that you're using within those products? Like, do they care whether it's Australian or not?
Some do. Some have asked that question. I got asked the other day about SSF pork.
What's SSF pork?
Sow stall free pork.
Yeah.
You know all about that one, do you?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I got asked that about there. It was actually Coles putting something through, and they want to advertise that all their pork products are SSF. So yeah, we do those sorts of things. The way the world is now with pork availability and what's actually happening, like this, with the swine flu and things like that have been coming through. We buy product from overseas, same as Primo, same as all the other ones. You have to buy it from overseas. So you can never actually say we are 100% Australian-owned product.
But the reality is, and look, obviously with my pork background, I'm a huge advocate for our Australian producers, and and the job that they do is remarkable, and the job that Australian pork does. But when it comes to looking at our small goods and all the rest of it, I think it's important to give the option of both, whether it's an Australian product or, so people know. I think that when chefs order bacon, they're not realizing that a huge percentage of bacon that they order is actually pork coming in from overseas. And I think it's that education and awareness around the fact that where the origin of that product is.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we've got to protect our pork industry 100%. And that's why I like, the idea, even though we are importing it from Denmark and places like that, the rules and regulations of getting the product in are so strict, and I reckon it's brilliant. Unfortunately, sometimes it adjusts with the price, but at least there's a safe product going out on that bacon and egg roll, or on that, wrapped around that mignon, so.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's, look, I think that as long as our producers are working to their capacity and their capabilities, and scaling their business as much as they could. But the reality is, if they were to look at supplying only Australian pork into all small goods that were available, we would just not have enough pork. So
no, we don't.
That's just the reality. But I think it's important to champion it where possible.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Actually, my brother-in-law works for a pork breeder down at Young.
Oh, yeah.
So I get the goss from him as well. But he's saying exactly the same thing. It's just not enough product. They can't produce enough product.
It comes down to yield as well,
Yeah.
That's another story for another day. But
Mm.
so you're enjoying working at Don KRC. Are you enjoying working with the so what's different between working with distributors and supply chain as opposed to working with end users, other than what you've already identified with late phone calls and things like that?
Well, it's more in bulk, like bulk products that we're supplying.
Do you have to work harder, like insofar as distributors and wholesalers? I mean, they've got a huge big list of products that they sell.
Well, they all come to terms with the realization they're not just going to buy wholly solely off me. So I've got to go in there and find out what exactly that they need and what their clients need and things like that. So, and then you try and work to that. I mean, these guys will always try and screw you down on prices. They're worse than chefs, worse than you lot. Just unbelievable. But you just got to sort of manage that. But I just find it's not, without being nasty, there's no bullshit involved with it. It's you go in there, bang, this is what's needed, this is what's going on, this is what we have, this is the reason why we have it at that price. Okay, righto, bang, see you later, handshake, we're out the door. There's none of that having to smooth them, none of that having to, go through all the motions and then talk to this, talk to the chef, then talk to the food and beverage manager, then talk to this, then talk to accounts. There's none of that. It's basically the person you deal with is the guy that runs the shop. He's the one that has his finger on the pulse. He's the owner. So I enjoy that, And
well, that's good. And he's... No, sorry, you go.
I was just going to say, and I'm not seeing as many people as I would normally as it's just a normal meat rep or a poultry rep. Because there you're seeing between 8 and 10 a day, probably here 4. The rest of the time you're actually on the computer or on the phone, talking to people, organising things like that. So it's reduced hours as in on the road, but hasn't reduced hours of work.
Yeah. So going back to being a rep and having a point of difference, we understand that customer service and believing in the product that you're selling are two of the major fundamentals. How important is it that reps actually do their research on businesses before they start approaching these businesses?
100%. You and I have done this many, many times when we were Top Cut. You get on the internet. It's so, you get on your phone, you can do anything. You just find out who they are. Someone rings up and say, I'm from, Post Restaurant. I'm interested in, well, can you give me some prices? They go, okay, no worries, give me your details. And they give you your details. I'm the first one straight on the phone. Oh, okay. What do they got? Oh, okay. They look at their menu, see what they are. Look at the reviews and what people have said about them. And that's what you do. Then you have an idea of what they're doing with the products, and then you can go, okay, well, I can suggest this, so I can price you for this. Because 9 times out of 10, they'll come and go, I want a grain-fed rump steak. What sort of marble score? Do you want anything like that? What do you mean? Or I want a yearling. Yeah, yearling what? What do you yearling grain-fed? What do you want? Because they don't know. So, but if you do your due diligence behind the scenes and see what they're actually doing with the product, you can suggest it to them. Say, look, I notice here you've got a rump on its own. Mate, you don't want to be going grass unless your clients really, really want it. Go the grain. Because it's a little bit softer, your customers will be happy. They might have a strip loin on. And it's a signature part of the dish, and that's going to be the main flavour. Say to them, hey, we can do a nice yearling grass-fed, which will be really a little bit, have a better flavour on it. Not quite as tender as the other one, but it'll be kick-ass, And
yeah.
Exactly what you said. Do some homework. It doesn't take much. I know we've been out on the road, repping for 12 hours a day, and you just like, I don't want to do this. It doesn't take much now. You can have a 10 minutes sitting on the side of the road with a cup of coffee from Macca's. You can have a quick look through, make some notes. It's
interesting, isn't it? Because when you're managing your sales teams, part of being that in that leadership role is identifying when you start to see that your sales reps are starting to lose the momentum, because that can happen very easily in sales. Where they become so eager for the sale that they forget how to sell.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's a good analogy. They do. Definitely do.
And it just kind of brings in this whole panic situation. And then you just see them spiral. It's like, watching them trying to navigate their way out of it, and they just got no idea. And I just don't think there's probably enough support out there for people in sales, in knowing what to do when they start to feel like that.
Well, you got upper management. They're just looking at facts and figures. They're looking at the figures at the end of the week, going, "Oh, how come we're down on here?" So they roll it downhill. Why aren't we getting the sales in? Why aren't we doing this? So you're pushing your staff, get out and see more people. And then, as you said, they start to get disillusioned. So they'll go out and do 20 cold calls. But you know what they're doing and where they're going. They're not going to get us to anything. 20 cold calls, in and out there. There's a brochure. See you later. I'm out the door. I'll go to the next one. They're not taking the time and effort to find out about that thing. And I agree with you. There should be more people within the industry to be able to help and assist them. That's what I've always done. I know that's what you've always done, is to try and impart what we know onto some of the other ones. Whether they listen, it's up to them. But at least, there's people like you and I out there, and probably some of the other guys that are listening too, would do that for their reps, is to sit down and say, "Come on, sit down here, just have a chat. What's the go? What's the problem? Where do you see it? Have noticed this, but where can we move on from here?" And
so if you were to pass on if you were to know what you know now and take it and put it into a younger Craig, what sort of advice would you pass on to yourself?
Keep doing what you're doing. Keep the ears open. That's the main thing. I've been in times when I've been disillusioned with the whole thing and I want to get out. I want to do something else. I've been pushed into there. But
I actually have to tell a funny story about that. I remember when I'm not speaking out of school. It's kind of
nothing out of school with you and I.
But you were in a bit of a down time for you, and you weren't loving your job like you would normally do, and you were driving. I think you were driving on the M2 back into the office. And you broke down on the side of the M2. And it was just kind of like that moment of, it was like a snap moment, wasn't it?
Well, I didn't actually break down. I ran up the back of someone. So yeah.
That's right. Because you were thinking about something else when you were driving, and you ran up the back of somebody.
Yeah, 60 kilometres an hour into the back of a young bloke. That wasn't very good of me. I was a bit silly, but that was that was the light bulb moment where I went, you know what, I've got to get out of here. This is not doing me any good.
Yeah, and that's probably when you do need to get out of it. So John Murgatroyd, who I adore, I don't know if do you know John? So I worked with John Murgatroyd at Game Farm, and he's now over in Singapore, working for a large food service business in Singapore. And that's where he and his wife live now. And he just said sometimes they also forget profitability and what's best for the business. And I think that that's true as well. I mean, we all want the sale at the end of the day, but you do have to remember the margins, and it's a fine line, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, as Angelo Barbudas once said to me, it's not a sale until the money's in the bank.
Yeah.
That's end of story. Whether it's profitable or not, it's got to have money in the bank, and it's got to be able to be profitable. So there's no good going out there saying yes to everything. You've got to sit back and, as you said, have a little bit of thought about the company. Hang on, if they want a 35% markup, I know I can get away with 25%. I'll go for 25%.
Yeah,
because if you're yes people, you'll just get ridden over, and you won't last in the industry. Firstly, customers will get to know that you're just an easy touch. Secondly, your bosses will get to know you're an easy touch, and they don't want to have a barrier. So,
they always smell it. So you're having a dinner party, right? And you can have 10 people around the table. Who would you invite? And they don't have to be here. Like, they could be people that have passed on. They could be people from the past. They could be people from now, and they can be
people that I know
haven't even met.
People that I know or haven't met.
Yeah, both. You don't have to know them. I mean, it could be, I don't know, whoever.
Yeah. Oh,
You'd have 10 people. Who would you have?
I'd have Billy Connolly.
Oh, yeah.
I reckon he's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Freddie Mercury, because I reckon he's absolutely brilliant too. And being an avid Queen fan that I am. I'd have my mother there because she's a brilliant cook. I'd love Rob Braccio to come back. I'd love to have one more session with Rob. Well, yourself, of course, because
I'm good company and all.
You are. Oh, Sammy Burke, because he's always good for a laugh.
Yeah, he said you're a bit of a legend. I saw some of his comments in there. Craig is the mayor of Maryland's municipality pool on Australia Day. You will find him there every year.
Wasn't he last year? I don't know. I'm just trying to think. There's another 3 or 4 people. I don't know. I'm just, don't know.
Who's inspired you over the years?
Actually, you know who else I'd have?
Who?
Been here for a little while, young Mitch Edwards.
Oh, really?
He is brilliant. Every time we get there, I go to shake his hand. He says, no. A cuddle's in here. We don't shake here. He's just an absolutely brilliant bloke. Absolutely brilliant. Another one I'd actually like to have was my second cousin, Paul Madeley. He plays football used to play for Leeds United in England. Love to meet him again. And my grandfather.
I love that. That's brilliant.
Just a nice little mix of different people.
And who'd be the cook?
Oh, my mum.
Yeah.
Oh, she's one of those ladies that you go to her house, doesn't matter what time of day or night, she could get something up for you. She'd open up her cupboard and it'd have every sort of condiment you'd ever want in your life. Someone might have mentioned to her,
I think you froze again, or I froze.
okay,
I've got you back again now.
Yeah, but I've lost you. I can't see you. Oh, there you go. Yeah, so yeah, she was a great inspiration for me too, because used to go and help her out and find out why she's doing this sort of thing, and I'd always be her little helper when I was growing up.
That's really nice. I'm really glad to hear
brother
it.
up, I was doing that. So,
well, you know what? Can you believe it's been an hour?
Wow.
I know. And I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time to chat today and just for being you and doing just being the amazing supportive person that you are, not just to me, but to many, many people across the industry.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. And you're one yourself. With doing things like this, you're actually assisting and helping people as well. You're opening eyes,
Well, we'd like to think so. We like to think so.
No, you're doing a really good job, and Food Logic is up there. If it's not up,
Food Logic is up there. Well, thank you, and thank you to everyone that's been online today. It's been a nice little mix, and I love the fact that every day that I do these, we get different people come in that I haven't heard from or seen for such a long time, and it's so nice to hear from them and know that they're in the background there somewhere. But Shane Krebs is he's full of support of you as well. Vanessa Jackson, obviously. I mean, she's
another one. I'd have her at my dinner party as well. She is brilliant.
Yeah, Graham Terry, he thinks the world of you. So
LGT, he's good.
So no, it's been great, and I'm really thankful. And take care of you in this COVID situation and the family. And
yep, make sure you and yours as well. You'll be good. And if you do,
we just don't go anywhere. Have you had the jab? Have you had your jab yet?
Oh, I'm had double. I'm sweet.
Good on you. Well done.
Yeah, but I'm still QRing and still putting my mask on. So I'm doing.
Oh, of course, yeah.
No,
No, it's important. It's important. But anyway, you take care of you, and all the love to the family, and look forward to when we can catch up in person.
done. Definitely.
All
I'll have your
right.
coffee.
Thank you.
See ya. Bye. Thanks again.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, all.